We're live. Um, as always, for educational purposes, not financial advice. And just ready to see what this day has to offer. I believe it's Friday. SMH bouncing right where it should again. So that's going to be another main watch today, right here on the monthly. You can see that we bounced off of S2, we reclaimed S1, and now we are bouncing there. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and create an alert there and keep an eye on that level. So that way, if it breaks below it, I know, but if it doesn't, I think I'm maxing out the Apple here. I'll just watch it because that apparently is asking too much at this moment to do that. But I'm going to be watching that right there, that 599.35. If this holds, you have to look up here towards 634. And when I look left, that was it tested it from the bottom. So that's going to be a spot of resistance, or do we go higher? Let me see. On this hourly chart, kind of has the inverse head and shoulders look as well. So that's a quote unquote looking higher pattern. But if it doesn't hold 599.35, it's not looking anywhere. It's going to be looking south. But if it does, it'll be looking higher, which will drive the NASDAQ higher. So that'll be a main watch right there. I'm going to try to put an alert on that one more time and see if it'll allow me. Yeah, I think it's going to work now. So I'm just going to put an alert there, at or below, see what it does. If it cuts through that, at least it'll let me know that that's going on. When I look at the Q this morning, we'll look at it a few different ways. We're kind of stuck in the middle. We got a weekly that we're stuck in the middle, and we've got a monthly that we are stuck right in the middle. And I just don't, for me personally, we'll just have to be patient here, because this was major support, which we tested right here pre-market yesterday. We got above it and we come back down. I think it's like 5 in the morning because I had 5:30. We have that perfect retest, and then just the march higher. Who knows what will happen at the open? Maybe we'll get enough movement to capitalize, but need something to move over here, either into 29,566 for another retest, or move on up towards this 30,299. Like I said, end of the week. So that's it for Friday. This is going to be the close of our week. We'll just have to see how that plays. We don't want to get antsy though and make bad decisions because we just want to trade. S&P, same. It's a little closer to its pivot over here. This would be a main watch for me on the S&P too. This monthly pivot at 75.43. We're only about 40 points above that. And if that monthly pivot comes down and retests, that'd be a great opportunity. Or if it fails, either way, this would be a good opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and put an alert there as well that just lets me know that if we get there, it'll give me a reminder. And I also have I have TOS on my phone, so that helps me a lot because that alert will come across on my mobile app. So they are linked. So keep that in mind. If you have, TOS on your desktop, you can also put it on your mobile device. Now your studies, that's completely different. You got to have a desktop for that, but at least you can get alerts and track basic numbers. Let's look at the QQQ and see if it's more telling. And maybe there's a level there that's a little tighter that we can leverage. The month or the weekly pivot is right here at 719.93. So we can also make sure that we watch this level, which I'll be watching it in the background anyway. But this will be a level that I will find, just because we are so close, If we break below that, or if we hold it for support, I would look for that. For some reason, the SMH has got to hold, and that's just what I'm trying to put together in my mind, like what actually makes sense. And this SMH right here has to hold. If this breaks, I don't think you can count on much power to the upside out of anything. Maybe the Dow and the Russell have a good day. And let's go look at the Dow. Yeah, it's up a little more this morning. It's got that look of odd, that rising red candles on the hourly. Not a great look. If we had a level there, I'd be very excited about shorting that, but we don't. Currently, if we were up here against a level where we'd had a good run and this was doing this, right now we're just sitting on this. So there's several, to put this picture together, there's several things that are sitting right at monthly pivots and weekly pivots. So the QQQ sitting right at a weekly pivot. Okay, that's going to be a huge spot for it. Let's look at the SPY, which is the S&P, which is just another way to view it. You know, you can buy shares of the SPY. You can trade options on the SPY. It's close to the weekly and monthly pivot. We know the ES is close to its monthly pivot. Okay, so there's a lot that I will be watching on monthly pivots, because the whole deal is if we break those monthly pivots, that's not going to be a good look. We got to start looking down at those other targets. Let me see what else will be sitting. The only thing is that SMH. Sitting on that S1. If it doesn't hold and the monthly pivots are breaking, that's a short. If SMH doesn't hold, it's a short anyway. For the Q, it's just not gonna matter. So those got to be the main watch just for today. And they might game it a little bit this morning, so we just got to be aware of that, where they're gonna play with you and try to throw you off sides. But that's kind of why I'm slow in the first 30 minutes. I don't try to jump out in front of that train, and we'll let them make their moves and go from there. Let's look at the Russell. The Russell was up quite a bit yesterday, and I'm just wondering if they're going to try to keep using that to drag. It's at its weekly pivot here, which it was yesterday here overnight. Can't get over the monthly pivot. So they're either going to have to start pushing these names higher, or they're probably going to start breaking down and going into these lower pivot areas. Yeah, and the NQ is under its monthly but above its weekly. And we know how big of a level is 29,566 is. We know that's been a major level, and we're 300 points above it right now. So it doesn't give me much leverage for today. I'm kind of out here just floating. So I want to see some movement, and maybe that movement comes from higher, or maybe it comes lower, but we just can't guess it. We just have to wait and see if they run the SMH today, and if they use the Dow and Russell to do anything else. I've been keeping a pretty close eye on the VIX. You can see every time we spike above this monthly pivot over here, we can't hold it. Then we retested it from the bottom, and then we come down. And the reason I do that, I will show you. Let me put the NQ up over here. There's just direct correlations on how they move. So when VIX is spiking over here on the left, NQ is dying, okay? As the VIX comes down, the NQ rallies up. So even like this spot right here on the VIX, if you look at these correlations, it's just kind of, it's very telling. This spot here on the VIX where it retested that monthly pivot from the bottom just happened to be the spot on the NQ over here where it was retesting its weekly pivot from the top. So you kind of get a correlating story, right? I know if the VIX is going up, it's going to be hard on the market. And I know if it's coming down, it's going to be good for the market. It's directly related 99% of the time. When this went up, we were retesting, couldn't break above the monthly pivot, held the weekly pivot on the NQ, and you go higher. So those are just correlations that you start figuring out and understanding as new traders, especially, and even experienced traders. It's always good to know that the volatility index is very, very crucial to what the day is going to look like in the week and the month. So right now, it's kind of coming down here in this bottom. Let me look at it. Let me put it back over here really quick. The VIX is, this has been the bottom for the month. Around this 1570 area. I don't have a great level there that's just been spot on, and maybe this one last month's kind of carrying, or last week is carrying over. But that's just been kind of the bottom right here of this VIX. So VIX and SMH will be more important to me today than just what the NQ is doing, because these are going to tell us if the VIX continues to break down. That's going to give the NQ fuel and SMH. But I'm sorry, there was thunderstorms here last night, and I'm telling you right now, holy cow, they kept me up. Oh, I had not only thunderstorms, but I had my small children migrating around the house, scared last night. So it was a long night, and it went on all night long. It was wild, and there wasn't any like tornado warnings or anything, but it was just lightning popping so hard that it would literally just bring you up out of the bed because it was just so loud. And usually I can sleep through most anything. So it's got me a little tired this morning because it was just like a war zone all night at my house. So I've got to yawn a little bit here and there. Like I said, if the VIX continues to break down and puts in new lows, that's going to be great for the market. If it holds here and starts pushing back up, we'll definitely know our spots, because we get to the monthly pivot on the VIX, we'll be watching that weekly pivot on the NQ. And we already know the NQ is a major spot of inflection. So that'll be a great decision point when we get there, or if we do get there, who knows? Or we might just turn and go higher. I don't have, you can analyze the individual names. NVIDIA kind of had a weird pop yesterday and then kind of just gave it up. Not really gave it up, but I know pre-market it was 206, 207. Yeah, but we're still holding that monthly pivot. We're still kind of pushing around, but you can see this isn't a great look on the weekly, where you come over here and you break through the R1, and now we just can't get above it. So NVIDIA was strong, somewhat strong yesterday, and then until it wasn't. I don't know if it'll have much continuation. Meta made a good recovery. They had that news pre-market, something about water contamination from their data center into a major city, but it looks like they come out with some news later on about, I don't remember, cheap AI model or something that they're producing. So that's got everybody excited with Meta. Google. And the only reason I'm running through these names is they will matter how they perform today. And I'm just getting a good idea of where we are on monthly pivots, because like I said, we're at the end of the week. We're there. The monthly pivot, of course, we'll get new weekly pivots Sunday at the futures open for all of our futures tickers. But the monthly is going to kind of tell me big picture what to expect moving forward, because there's a lot of the times you see, and let me make it just a little more of a time frame chart for you, just so we can get a little more data. I don't want to ask the too much of the Apple while I'm streaming two places, but just like last month on Google, you break below the monthly pivot, you have to start looking at first target. When you break below the monthly pivot, what do you have to start looking at? First target, 339. That's going to be a drag on the NQ if that pivot continues to be resistance. And right now, that's literally a shorting opportunity on Google. If it gets back above 358, you know that it's wrong, but you could buy some puts or whatever you wanted to do there. And just know, hey, if I get up here and hold on 358, I'm wrong. But right now, doesn't have a good look. You want to see it get away from that pivot, though. It's kind of doing the test of I want to buddy up, and we like to see that rejection. I went with buddy up instead of snuggle up. It sounds a little snuggle up seems a little soft. I don't know. I'm used to having my kids around, I guess, and so I'm trying to be a little better with my verbiage there. Let me see. AMD, same thing. It's sitting below the monthly pivot, and you can see what it did last month. Sit above the monthly pivot, but all it did was chop in that range between the pivot and R1, our first resistance. So as you paint this picture right now, we are below them. So let's just keep going. We have several large names that are below pivots, and we know MU is going to be a below pivot, and these are major levels. Can't get through. S1 had that great rally off of S2, a beautiful rally, and now we are having issues. So even though the NQ is not at much of an inflection point, a lot of these drivers of the NQ, what is going to matter to the NQ, are sitting at inflection points. So we can use that to gauge a little bit today on if MU, SMH, and some other ones can't do what they need to do, it's going to be a problem. Now, Apple should be above the pivot. Yeah. Apple, see, and this is what you want to see on a pivot. You get a pop, and then when you get that retest, we don't buddy up anymore. We're running. We're going. So sitting above R1, it's not going to have a big influence on what happens today there. Microsoft, everything is just sitting flat, been running flat, not moving a lot. It's going to be an interesting day. This is a day you don't, as a trader, for me personally, you don't want to get too wild unless we break some major levels one way or the other. You want to be patient here because we're going into the end of the week. And if they want to reposition for next week, they can do wild things here on a Friday. So by 10:30, the European close, 10:30 Central Time, I will be interested to see what's going on there. Let's look at oil really quick. Had the pop into R1 on the monthly. Good rejection, back down. Went right into the R2. Just a good spot of resistance. Held the pivot, green candles, and we march higher. Green candles and we march higher. I know oil is a very big talking point right now. Of course, it's going to affect the market, inflation, and all those hot topics. But at the end of the day, I really think there's such a global game being played with oil right now that they're going to move heaven and earth to keep that in touch. And I don't think they're going to want it to get away from them. Let's see. Gold, perfect retest that pivot. I was talking about that pivot yesterday. I didn't watch gold, but that 40.25, and that was actually 2 days ago, but I knew it was there when we came down, but I don't think it quite got there. It's close. Yeah, missed it by 7 points, but you've just got green candles, so you've got larger momentum on your side there. So for gold, if it reclaimed the 41.38, it would be a buy. It got up there and held and took off. As long as it holds 41.38, we get above it. That's definitely, especially with green candles over here, you would look for that opportunity. So I might watch a little bit of gold today and see what it's trying to do, but it's down pre-market, which we'll see how they act from there. I've about covered everything that's relevant. Let's look at Avgo, because I've been watching Avgo. Yeah, I'd been watching Avgo because it had been sitting near these pivots, and then when it broke down, we almost got to the weekly. Here's where I was watching it. It was sitting on the weekly pivot and the monthly. It broke down, but this is what I talk about buddying up. See how it buddied up on that monthly pivot? That's not the reaction you're looking for if you're thinking it's breaking on down. No matter what the ticker is, no matter what the time frame is, that's not the reaction. If I'm saying, hey, Avgo's, it's broke the monthly pivot, we're going short. When we buddy up, that's not what I want to see. If we are truly going to take off to the downside, like this 20-point move, you can see it just leaves, it goes. This was just not, I don't want to go down here and find this 340 target. I had an alert set there. It just doesn't want to do it, and you can tell because it just buddies up right here. Break back above and just takes off on the monthly. So Avgo's hanging out in space too, just out in big open areas that doesn't give me a lot of help. TSM, yeah, it's going to look a little rougher. Sitting below pivots, kind of has the look of AMD, just trading sideways below pivots. It's going to be an interesting day. The NQ, let me look at the QQQ again. Yeah, the QQQ is the one that looks the most right here. We have this weekly pivot. So I'm going to leave the QQQ up on my screen and watch it this morning and see if we get a break. And this has after hours turned on. If you're watching equities, especially on the pivots, you can go in and turn your after hours on equities in your settings. Show extended hours trading session under equities right here. And that will show you the data overnight. Some people don't like to see that, which I don't know why. I like to see it just because it gives you a full picture. It shows you where it trades overnight, and you want to pay attention to that, you know, the pre-market high and low. So I always turn that on. I do not highlight. You can highlight the extended traded hours, and I'll show you what that looks like. It just doesn't, for me, I don't like it. It shows you like, okay, here's the cash open or cash session from yesterday. It's a good way to differentiate it if you're just trying to look at it and study it. But for me, I just leave it off. I just want to know what it did overnight. So you can tell this is our night trading session since it's highlighted. And I know that here's my pre-market low is 717.81. And it looks like my pre-market high is 722 area. So I'll be keeping an eye on that depending on which way we go off of this pivot to see if we can push through that and continue higher, or if we push through it and continue lower, just depending on how we play with the pivot. Right now, we have to give it the opportunity. This is definitely support until we're proven the other way. So if we get a break and it heads south, then we just know it's not support anymore. But if it comes down here and touches it and takes off, then that's what we are after. But I'll be watching that. I'm going to hop off my Substack Live. I'll still be streaming in my Discord. I've got a few things I need to do this morning as far as just run around, but I'll be back for the open. I've got just a few notes that I got to take care of. So I will be streaming this live over there so you can watch it if you would like to do that. I really don't know which. Okay. Once I close out my Substack, guys, I will make sure that I have this streaming over there where you can see it. And then I will be back in just a little bit for the open. What time is it now? It's almost 8 o'clock. So I will run back in and just keep an eye on this, see what we do for the QQQ and see if it gives us the opportunity here. I want to see it open and then make a reaction from there. I don't want to guess on what it's going to do at all. So keep that in mind. All right. As always, we will talk soon on Substack. I will get that to you. I will get this published and we'll just watch SMH, VIX, and this QQQ. And that's going to give us a full picture for us, or me anyway, if I'm trying to scalp the NQ today. It'll let me know what I need to do moving forward. All right. We will talk soon.
Thank you.